Okay, so for today, I want to talk to you about breath ratios. And there's a lot of things to consider. Pranayama is very much a part of yoga. And it's something that we really need to incorporate into our practice. And I want to talk to you about breath ratios. I teach the one-to-one breath. We do it all the time. And I also use the terminology, which is samvriti. Sam means same. Vritti means to move. So it means basically same to move. It's moving at the same ratio. We do that all the time in our practice. But I want to talk to you about what the breath ratios are and what they're good for. And this is kind of fun to learn about. So first of all, the one-to-one breath, and that also includes, by the way, it's not just your inhale and your exhale that's even. That would also include your retention. So when I am teaching the breath techniques, I typically will teach inhale 4 counts, exhale 4 counts. And then we'll also do retention. So breath retention is included in that samvriti category. So you would inhale 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, exhale 4 counts, hold for 4 counts. Everything is the same. Every part of the breath ratio is the same. Okay? But always start out gradual. Start with just inhale, exhale, 1-to-1, and then you can slowly start adding the retention as the breath is comfortable. The 1-to-2 breath, which I also use a lot, is when you inhale 4 counts and now you start to lengthen your exhale for twice the amount of counts. So if you do 4 count inhale, your exhale would be 8 counts. I usually am more gradual with that with you guys. I usually encourage you to start lengthening that exhale to 6 counts, then get to 8 and maybe even a longer breath. But you know, that really is going to depend on you and what's happening with your breath. So there are some things to consider when you're looking at what's the right breath ratio for you. Well, first of all, it's individualized, just like yoga and just like Ayurveda. It's different for each person. And if you're a beginner, you have to really pay attention to just learning how to focus on the breath. One of the things to consider is if your breath ratio is too easy. So for all of us, we've been doing one-to-one breath pretty often, and we're used to it. We've been doing it for years. When a breath ratio becomes too easy, it becomes mechanical. And just a little side note on that, this is one of the reasons why I am not attracted to practices where they do the same practice over and over and over and over and over. Becomes mechanical. It just becomes mechanical. Okay, so what happens though if you do a breath ratio that's too complicated? If it's too complicated, it'll cause resistance. So actually the body starts to constrict, and that then can cause problems. So you have to pay attention to, oh, this is too easy for me. I obviously need to maybe lengthen this or lengthen that, right? Or this is too complicated. I'm starting to notice I have contraction happening in my body. So you have to listen. In order to strengthen your inhale, you want to lengthen your exhale. And the reason why that strengthens your inhale is because when you lengthen out the exhale, it empties out the lungs. So then your next breath is a much bigger breath. You have to take in more. It's more voluminous. It has more volume to it. So it expands your breath capacity on the inhale. So it's a really great technique to use. So other things, focusing on pranayama, techniques that help us with concentration are focusing on the flow of breath, focusing on the sound of breath, or the place and location of breath. And that happens when I ask you guys to feel your breath moving in at the tip of the nose, I will ask you to do that during different practices, and that is one of those techniques. Observation of the breath can also be very useful, and here's why. Because when we observe the breath, as opposed to experiencing the breath, two totally different ways of approaching the breath. When we observe the breath, it actually will bring on a meditative state. And when you bring on a meditative state, that quiets the mind. So that technique is very useful for calming the mind down, observing the breath. There's another technique called gazing. We don't do this one. We should try it out. The beginning, you have to kind of gradually work there, because if you do gazing, internal gazing, it can cause a headache on the inhale. So you have to be careful and just only do the internal gazing during the breath retention. So internal gazing is you actually close your eyes and you would draw your attention inward, either to the belly or to the chest, or just inward, internal gazing. And so to do that one in the beginning, you would inhale with the eyes open, and then in that pause, you would close the eyes and draw your attention inward. We're going to try it tonight. First time doing this breath with you guys. What's great about this breath technique, the internal gazing, calms the senses. So that's your eyes, your ears, your taste, your smell, and touch. It calms them. We really need that in how we live today. We are all overstimulated. We are all overindulged, even if we're not intending to be. So we get overindulged, and that technique is going to be useful for that. We're going to try that out later at the end of the practice today. Okay? So do you guys have any questions on those techniques? We're going to work with breath ratio today. Okay? All right. Well, then let's go ahead and get started. Let me just pause this.